Hi friends, previous video we talked about the factors contributing for the efficiency of the power generation of the engine. This video I am going to talk about the air intake system in an engine, which are all the components fitted, which are the components involved in the air intake system and what is their function. And in the next video I am going to talk about the maintenance of the air intake system. Previous video we discussed about the factors influencing the engine power output. That is volumetric efficiency, displacement volume, and air fuel ratio, and the type of aspiration, naturally aspirated, turbocharged engine, etc. etc. This video we are going to talk specifically about the 4-stroke diesel engine operated with the forced induction system, that is a turbocharged and aftercooler 4-stroke diesel engine. Let us see this circuit. This is the schematic diagram of the air intake system. This is the ambient air inlet point. We discussed about the mass of the ambient air at 59 degrees Fahrenheit with the atmospheric pressure of 14.7 pounds per square inch. The mass will be around 0.0765 pounds per cubic meter. So with that mass, the air enters here. It passes through the piping, through the forced feed system or forced induction system due to the rotation of the turbocharger. We have clearly talked about the function of the turbocharger in the part 8a and 8b. If you want to specifically know how the turbocharger works, kindly refer those videos. So air travels like this and passes through the manifold and piping. Then when atmospheric air, when it passes through the turbocharger compressor wheel, the temperature increases here because of the swirling action of the vanes of this compressor wheel. So air temperature increases, so the density drops. To regain the air density, the air is cooled in this charge air cooler. There are two types of charge air coolers. One is the air over air type, means the air which is going to be inside the engine will be passing inside the tubes. Externally there will be a blower or fan, which is the air is blown external surface of this fins. So whatever the air is, whatever the temperature is being carried through the air inside the tubes will be dissipated through this external air. Again there is a piping, then there are the valves, inlet valve. Through this inlet valve the air enters inside the cylinder. So before this entry inside the turbocharger, the most important, the very important component is the air filter, which is not shown here. So that I am going to talk about all these important parts. One is the air filter, the second one is the turbocharger, and then the aftercooler, and there will be air filter restriction indicator also will be there, and also there will be some sensors, atmospheric sensors, boost pressure sensors, all these things, sensors will be there. Let us move one by one component in detail. There are three types of air filter elements are fitted in the engines. Majority of the engines are fitted with the vapor element type or dry type air filter. Majority of the machines, including the cars, construction machines, mining machines, because this is the most efficient filtration. This is how it looks when you cut the filter. This is a special paper or cellulose made with cellulose material having a number of pleats. You can see this cut section having number of pleats. The purpose of designing this filter is to increase the filtration area. If it is simply a simple paper surrounded by this filter, the area will be very less. To increase the filtration area of the paper media, it is designed in a fleet system like this, and filter area is also critical in pumping the adequate amount of air inside the engine. If you just look this filter, filter paper plates, it looks like this. Air is passing, the air with contaminants like dust and all will be passing from one direction. All these contaminants are filtered by this paper and clean air is entered inside the engine or through turbocharger, whatever it may be. This is called filter media. What we call is a paper. It looks like a paper, but it is not exactly as a paper. It is a cellulose material having some fine micro holes. Okay. Then the other type filter is the oil bath filter or wet filter. This is a kind of wire mesh. You can see these holes under, and this wire mesh is partially immersed in the oil pan. You see, this is the wire mesh. This is the bottom one is the oil pan. Why this design? This you can see in the older model engines mainly. This is the earlier model of the diesel engine. You can see such type of filter. How the filtration takes place here? Air from atmosphere comes here from this. You can see this arrow directions. Okay. Before, see, it is passing like this. Again, it is coming out here, going to the engine. But what is happening in between? What's happening? The air carrying the dust particles will be passing through the oil. So when it passes through the oil, all the dust particles are attached, caught by the oil because of its gummy substance or whatever may be. So that dust particles are withheld by the oil. The filtered oil will pass through again this mesh. Why this mesh is here? Number one, whatever the leftover dust particles in there also filtered here, and also this mesh will not allow to pass this oil along with the air. Only filter air alone will go to the engine. This is called oil bath filter. And the third type is the combination of the oil bath and the paper element type. Majority of the construction machines do have this type because primarily majority of the dust or heavy dust particles are filtered in this oil bath, and whatever still leftover micro dust particles are there will be filtered through this paper media, this dry type filter element. This is called combination type air filter. This is another attachment is called centrifugal pre-cleaner. This is centrifugal pre-cleaner. The purpose of this centrifugal pre-cleaner is there. Before, this is normally fitted attached to the dry type air element. What happens when the air passes, atmospheric air passes through this from this surrounding hole? There will be passage inside behind this. So there will be a small swirling action takes place inside because of its design. When the air swirling action takes place, heavy dust particles are accumulated here, and fine dust particles whatever go through this system will be filtered through this paper. So this is centrifugal pre-cleaner. That's why very specifically they called it as a pre-cleaner. Filter is over. We have seen the air from atmosphere passes through this filter, enters inside, goes to the engine. This is called filter clogging indicator. What happens when the filter clogs? The filter, this porous material, whatever is there, filter media gets clogged with a lot of dust because upon using certain hours, certain life, the filter definitely gets clogged. This gives indication to the operator. Boss, this filter is clogged, it's no more useful. Either you clean this filter or service the filter or replace the filter. There are special instructions how to clean the filter. They don't clean the filter. If they run the engine with clogged filter, sufficient air will not go to the engine and the engine will be starving for want of oxygen. fuel is wasted, there will be enormous amount of black smoke, loss of power, and so many further consequential problems will be there. Filter is over. Now we talk about the turbocharger. This is the turbocharger. Again, just will tell you few seconds because it is elaborately discussed in the video part 8a and 8b. How this turbocharger works? The turbocharger is an air pump run with the velocity of the exhaust gases. There will be a center shaft supported in the center housing with the help of the bearings and shaft. At one end of the shaft, this turbine blades are connected, turbine wheel is connected. The other end of the shaft, compressor wheel is connected. The wheel which is connected at the exhaust end is called the turbine wheel. The wheel which is connected at the inlet side is called the compressor wheel. So these are supported in a bearing in a housing, and there is some lubrication passage is there. All these things are. What happens when the exhaust gases comes out of the combustion chamber from the cylinder? They hit these turbine blades, making the turbochargers to rotate at very high speed, even to the extent of 240,000 revolutions per minute. When this wheel is rotating at high speed, this wheel also rotates with the same speed because of these two are connected to the same shaft. When this wheel starts rotating, because these compressor wheel blades or vanes are in opposite direction to the turbine wheel. So when this is rotating, when this makes this also to rotate, allowing the atmospheric air to pull inside the compressor wheel housing. The air is pulled from the atmosphere inside the compressor wheel housing and will be pushed outside. This is the turbocharger. Turbocharger purely functions with the energy of the exhaust gases. What is happening when this air is passing through the compressor wheel, which is rotating approximately 2 lakhs revolutions per minute? The temperature of the air increases drastically. When the temperature of the air increases, its density drops down. When the density drops down, I already told you that drop in density affects the volumetric efficiency of the engine. So this hot air is passed through this intercooler. This is called intercooler. You can see the small tubes. These tubes, very fine thin tubes. Again, each tube is connected with the fins. This is just like a radiator or heat exchanger. As discussed, there are two types of intercoolers. One is air to air. So whatever the hot air is passing inside the intercooler tubes will be cooled through the external air pumped from a blower or fan. Another type of intercooler is the air to water. In this type, what happens? The one which is shown here is the air to air aftercooling only. But in case of the air to water intercooler, what happens? The air from the turbocharger will be passing through the external surface of the tube, whereas water will be passing inside the tubes, just like in the radiator. And when the water or coolant passes inside the tubes, it carries the heat away from the intake air. So the air temperature drops down by coming out here, and cool air will go to the engine, so that the volumetric efficiency will be improved. This is about the intercooler. There will be some sensors will be there. I told you, particularly in electronic ignition engines, there will be boost pressure sensor, there will be atmospheric pressure sensor. All these sensors will give the signals to the electronic control module to decide the appropriate amount of diesel to be injected in that particular time. Please go through these points, and if you have any queries or questions, you can ask me through the email.